as somebody flipping hamburgers at the McDonald's.
Oh, you want me to send you some of my bologna that I have to eat?
No, what I would... You're sending me enough of your bologna right now, but what I would like you to send me is a photograph of you in your underwear. Would you send me a photograph of you in your underwear? I want to see if you would be a candidate for our calendar.
You send me a photograph of your underwear, and then you give me a job. You know everybody.
Okay. Would you like to be in our calendar?
Give me a job.
Would you like to be in our calendar? Well, get you a job.
What you do?
Why should I get you a job? You now have Bill Clinton.
As being a Republican.
Bill Clinton's responsibility is to give you a job, Joan.
I'm sorry?
I said it's Bill Clinton's responsibility to give you a job. That's what he promised everybody.
No, it's yours because you took everything away. All your croonies that you know, Nixon spelled N-I-swastika-O-N, and then also Reagan, and also
How do you spell
Bush.
Reagan? How do you spell Reagan?
Hey, give me a job.
Well, I tell you what, you now have
You can do it. Get me a job. I want to make money like your relatives and your friends make money.
Well, I wish I could, but unfortunately we've got Bill Clinton in office now. Well, Bill Clinton is going to contract the economy.
I'm sure you're still in connection with all your croonies there. I'm sure all your croonies leave as multimillionaires, not 1 millionaire over, but 2. And you leave everybody that's a common worker as a nothing. And all you and Rush Limbaugh do is talk against Clinton, and Clinton has to be the eraser on the pencil that all you guys did, and he has to eradicate everything, and you won't give him that time.
Joan, I'll tell you what, we've got a tremendous idea here, which originates to give to give credit where credit is due.
Give me a job.
My producer wants to give you a job. We've got the job for you. We have a job for you. We want you a job selling commercials for Unistar. If you can sell commercials for this program on Unistar.
You sell it to Japanese, like you were selling all kinds of stuff, pal.
I thought you wanted a job.
I'm not going to take what you got you in jail on for.
Well, there you go.
I want a legal job that's legal.
Well, you're right. Probably working for Unistar is probably illegal.
Can you do it?
Matter of fact, Unistar probably ought to be in jail.
Can you do it? No.
Can I do what?
Can't, because you're a liar.
I'm a lawyer?
You're on the radio, and all you do is brainwash people.
Am I a lawyer or a liar? Or is that the same thing?
I'm sorry?
That's all right. I'm sorry, too, Joan. I'll tell you what, I appreciate hearing from you very, very much.
I want
Please continue. Please. Well, I told you we're going to get you a job selling commercials for this program on Unistar. Now, just leave all your details. Send your resume. Send your resume to, please send your resume, and I will take to G. Gordon Liddy Show, Post Office Box 3649, Washington, D.C., and the zip code is 2007. Unistar needs you, Joan.
Yeah, they need you, too. You don't need to be on the radio. You should be in prison, like Tricky Dick, and everybody got out of there.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joan.
And you don't
we will be happy to.
And I know you clicked me off the radio, but you, Tricky Dick, and Reagan and Bush, why didn't you do something to Bush's son when he was under drugs? Why didn't you do something to Bush when Bush was on the SNL? Why didn't you do something with Bush's brother who stole money and now they're silent? It's like you turkeys should be in jail that are talking how wonderful the Republicans. Republicans suck.
Joan, we have a fax in here from V. Madison, who wants to know have you been drinking?
No, have you? I know you eat rats. You were on 60 Minutes indicating you eat raw rats.
Not raw. Cooked
and your
rats.
wife drink and eat rats together, and then see you.
No, Mrs. Liddy does not share my enthusiasms. As a matter of fact, Mrs. Liddy feels
Republicans.
You feel much more kindly toward me than Mrs. Liddy does. Ladies and gentlemen, you are getting.
Ah, you like this?
Yes, because this is what I'm used to at home.
Oh yeah, you're excited. Yeah, it's part of the Republican training.
You're getting me excited, Joan.
I know.
You're getting me hot.
You're not getting me excited because you ain't got nothing to be excited over. You're very ugly.
Well, I know that. But unfortunately, this is radio, so other people don't know that. That's our secret, Joan.
That's why you're on TV.
That's our secret.
On TV. You look like you're a personality that could eat rats and go with Tricky Dick and Bush and Reagan and play your little games. You know, and you use the middle-class person as the pissants is working, and then take everything away from them, and all you bastards that go into Congress and the Senate and President get out to be multimillionaires, and the pissants keep working. That's what you have done, even though you ate rats.
Okay.
This is a special encore edition of Radio Free DC, the G. Gordon Liddy Show.
All right, we're back here on Radio Free DC, the G. Gordon Liddy Show. I'm still trying to get over that fan letter from Joan on the last hour. But all these, what we're now calling Joan faxes have come in. G-Man, cut this woman off. I'm positive she's the mother of the woman who suffers from a nippleless marriage. Sincerely, Mike and Andrews. And another one says, this is from Corey Shackleton. He says, if she hasn't been drinking, she's the one who's been brainwashed. And then we have Lars from Mars says, could someone please advise Joan's doctor that her Thorazine dosage needs to be increased? And last from Brother Mike, I have had doubts recently about my commitment to the monastery and my celibacy, but thanks to the last caller, I remember why I joined in the first place. All right, we're going to go to the telephones now. And up first from Washington, D.C., is Margaret. Margaret, you're on Radio Free D.C.
Hi, Gordon. I just want to apologize on behalf of the members of my sex for that last caller.
No, you're not responsible for every member of your sex,
I
Margaret.
know, but I certainly feel like probably the exact opposite of how she does about you, and I tend to believe the positive things I've heard about you and not the negative. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for your vote of support.
I'm just so thrilled to be talking to you. I've had a crush on you since I was in junior high.
My heavens. And that sounds as if that was last year.
Well, I'm 27 now, so it's been an ongoing long-term relationship I've had with you in a sense.
Well, that's wonderful. I certainly encourage it, Margaret.
Well, I'm so glad you're on the air, and I love your program, and I thank you for giving me something to think about every day.
Well, thank you, Margaret, and thank you for those wonderful, kind words. You've certainly done my ego a world of good, especially after the terrible battering it just took. And let's see. Now, next up from Dover, Delaware, it's Klein. Klein, you're on Radio Free DC.
Yes, Mr. Living.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to know why you are such a jerk. And I've called before, and I finally got on the air this time. Whoever answers your phones.
That's Cameron.
Pardon me?
That's Cameron who answers the phones.
Well, whoever.
Yeah.
He gives you a hard time.
Cameron gave you a hard time?
Sure.
Cameron, you should be ashamed of yourself, Cameron.
Anyhow, number one, you are a first-class jerk. Number two, you are a second-rate lawyer. Number three, you're a third-class citizen. And instead of being where you were playing golf and tennis, you should have been doing hard time, and you should still be doing hard time.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Klein, let's look at those seriatim. Now, as to whether or not I am a first-class jerk or not, I may well be. Mrs. Liddy, I'm sure agrees with you on that one. So we'll give you that one because Mrs. Liddy, I think, feels the same way. Now, what was the next one? What was the second one?
Second-class lawyer.
Well.
If you weren't a second-class lawyer, you'd have your own practice. You wouldn't be on radio. You'd be getting a lot more money.
Well, you do know, don't you, that you can't practice law without a license?
That's your problem.
Well, it is my problem because I was disbarred. That means that I'm a lawyer not permitted to practice. Now, that would not necessarily mean that I was a second-class lawyer. As a matter of fact, I was sufficiently a lawyer to be able. One of the interesting things, Klein.
You work for.
Well, wait a minute, Klein. Let me answer your question.
United States.
No, wait a minute. Let me answer your question.
Why he ever picked you, I don't know.
Okay, but let me answer your question, if that's all right. When you're disbarred, there is one area in which you can practice law, and that is if you happen to be in prison, and I was for a time there. The United States Supreme Court has said...
Prison, bud.
Well, that's the next question. Let me answer this one, and then we'll get to that one, okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, the United States Supreme Court has said that any prisoner may have any other prisoner represent him as a lawyer. And so I was able to have quite an extensive law practice when I was in prison. But one of the things that I did was represent myself, of course, because by that time I was broke.
Cool.
And just in defense of my abilities as a lawyer, I would point out that while I was in prison, I defended 7 civil suits against me, one of them by Jack Anderson, totaling, I think it was $21 million in damages that they were wanting. And I won every single case with no more of a law library than what was available in prison. Now, I may be a disbarred lawyer, but I would suggest to you that I'm a pretty damn good lawyer, at least unless you can come up with some evidence to rebut that. Now, what was your next one after the lawyer thing? Oh yeah, you weren't happy with the prison I was in.
You forgot that you worked for the second greatest president of the United States, and he resigned in disgrace, and you made a big deal out of yourself and got on the radio and everything.
Well, I was not the president's lawyer, sir. John Dean was, and if you've got a quarrel with that, you got to take that up with John Dean. Now, as to the prison,
you're the one that
now, what about the prison? You said something about you were unhappy with the prisons I was in.
The Watergate scandal.
Yeah, well, you were unhappy.
You're the one that had the whole idea. You're the one that.
No, that's not quite correct. If you would the book Silent Coup, you'd find out what went on there. Now, what was the next one? Something about the prison I was in. You were not happy about the prison I was in?
You mean the third-class citizen?
No. Well, let's take that one.
I don't have any idea why you're on broadcast radio.
Well, that of course is a function.
Me on there, and I'm a third-class citizen because I went to jail too. You know, I don't understand why they won't let me on radio.
Well, why have you applied to a radio company for a position?
No, but why should you be on there?
Well, that's two different things. Now, first of all, you want to know why you're not on there. Well, if you don't even ask for the job, sir, how are you going to get the job? Now, if you were to come to Infinity, which is the station that employs me, they might be delighted to have you.
A famous, quote unquote, famous, infamous, or whatever person. Mm-hmm. That's how you got on radio.
Okay, but how do you think I stayed on radio?
There's no other reason.
Let us assume, for the sake of argument, sir, that you're right, and that the only reason I was given the opportunity to be on radio is because I'm infamous. Now, were infamous, whatever.
Whichever you want to think of.
Whichever you want to say. Now, suppose you are correct, and they gave me that opportunity. Do you think for 1 minute that if I could not do the job, that I would last on radio? These people are in the business of making money. If I couldn't do the job, they would fire me.
You are just proving that Americans can get away with anything if they are infamous or famous enough.
Well, let's examine that. When I went to jail, I was certainly infamous or famous.
We're not Americans, anybody.
Now, let's go into the third-class citizenship business.
We are, okay.
Okay. I think I probably would agree with you on that because I'm not permitted to own a firearm, and I'm not permitted to practice law, so I guess you're right about third-class citizenship. If I was a first-class citizen, I could vote, and I can't vote. So I think I've got to give you that one, Klein. Now,
I can't vote either.
Now, what about the prison?
I can't own a firearm.
Okay. Now, what about the prison?
I can't get on radio because I'm not famous or infamous.
You don't know that until you've attempted to do so. You've got to make an application for the job. Now, I'll tell you what you do. You write a letter to Ken Stevens. Ken Stevens is the manager of this station. And he's always looking for talent.
I don't even know where you are.
He's looking for talent.
On the air here.
He's looking for talent. So if I were you, I'd write to Ken Stevens. Now, what about the prison I was in? You were upset about that.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
I didn't get to play golf. I didn't get to play tennis.
Well, neither did I, sir. Where did you think I was?
Federal prison? You were in a federal prison.
I was in a number of federal prisons. You think that in all federal prisons you play golf?
The one you were in, you did.
Which one was that, sir?
I don't know, but most federal prisons where they send political prisoners, that's you play golf and you play tennis and you play whatever.
Well, I'll tell you, the prison that they sent me...
you should have been breaking rocks, and you should still be breaking rocks.
Well, I tell you, I could probably break a rock pretty well, but they didn't have that there. But the prison that I was sent in had an electric chair. It was maximum security, and was subsequently torn down by direction of the courts because they didn't want anybody put in a prison like that anymore.
Well,
So
I promised your station representative I wouldn't cuss you out. So.
Well, that's all right. I mean, I'm having I'm having a good time.
You know what I mean?
You have a little problem with your facts because I was never in a prison where we played golf. Facts. Yeah, well, I was never in a prison where they played golf.
Still be in prison. It should be you, not Richard Nixon. He shouldn't have designed in disgrace.
Well, there are a lot of people who feel as you do, but President Jimmy Carter,
best president.
President Jimmy Carter disagreed with you, sir. The only reason I am not still in prison, because I did have a 21.5-year sentence, the only reason I'm not there is because President Carter and you disagree. He's the one who let me out.
Well, President
so your problem
Carter is a jerk.
Well, all right.
You know who the first best president is? The one we got now.
Oh.
Everybody's cutting him down. The second best president was Richard Nixon.
Okay.
And it's people like you that give him a bad name. It's people like you that pull him down. It's people like you that disgrace him. And they have to resign in disgrace, and you get a damn radio station to put you on the air.
And you'd like to be on the air yourself, right?
No, I just don't want you to be on the air.
Well, then you're going to have a discussion like this with Ken Stevens, because Ken Stevens is my employer.
Well,
and so long as he's willing to keep me on the air, I'll be here.
As far as I'm concerned, the only employer you need is the United States penitentiary system.
Well, they disagree with you. They threw me out.
Well, they probably threw you out because you about as good there as you were in the Nixon administration.
I got to give you that one. They were very unhappy with me.
Yeah,
There's no question about it. They were very unhappy with me. All right, Klein. I'll tell you what. Unfortunately, we have to take a quick commercial break. Beforehand,
that support you. And there's another thing. I don't understand why you cut down somebody that's paying for your talk.
Who's that?
The commercials.
Oh, it's not the.
Why do you call them crass? Why do you call
because they are. You see.
Why do you do this?
Let me explain it to you. You asked me the question. Let me explain it to you. There is no problem with the products themselves. I think they're fine. Nor with the people who make them and the people who merchandise them.
You call them disgusting.
That's the commercials. Those are the commercials which are written not by those people. They're written by these advertising agencies whose members are products of the public school system and who cannot speak and write the English language correctly. Klein, I've got to go, but I've really enjoyed it very, very much.
Good enough.
All right,
Loved it. Bye.
Bye-bye.
The G. Gordon Liddy Show Encore presentation.
And these faxes just in. I guess Klein stirred things up a little bit. Here's one says, Gordon, I finally have proof. Your last caller is solid evidence of what happens when close relatives marry. Keep on keeping them honest. The guys at Chromatech. And that's the Chromatech laboratory at Independence, Ohio. Thank you, guys. And here's one, Dear Gordon. Get this guy and Joan together. It's a match made in heaven. Yes, I think you're absolutely right. I think what we ought to do is have a panel discussion between Joan from Chicago and Klein from Dover, Delaware.